Hi, welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Today I am playing with recycled sweaters, chopped up, chop shop sweaters, used, pilly, mothy, holy, crappy sweaters. These are all recycled sweaters. So if you watch the coffee time videos that I do, you know that a couple days ago I started a project using sweaters because I was super fortunate to have this angel woman send me an email and ask me if I wanted bags and bags of old sweaters that she intended to do crafts with and then lost the mojo and just wanted to get rid of them. So I took them, not really knowing what to do with them, and then I started hooking with them. This is not an unheard of thing. This is certainly not my invention by any means, but it is like the best thing I've done maybe since having children, and a lot more fun than that moment too. So what I got were bags and bags of sweaters. And she has taken sweaters from thrift stores, the closet that the moths have gotten to first, and washed them. Wash them, dry them, shrink them. Do just what you're not supposed to do with wool sweaters. 100% wool is going to work best. Yes, lamb's wool is also great. You can try blends. I haven't tried blends yet myself, so we'll see how that goes. What she gave me was 100% wool, and again, it was already washed. And she had already chopped, like this is very obviously, woohoo, windy, a sleeve that she already chopped off. And it has that boiled wool quality. It's very thick. When you put wool through, whether it's wool for stripping, like, you know, door wool, sheets of wool, or sweaters, when you put wool through the wash, it's called fulling it. As a verb, you make it full, you full it. And it really plumps out in a way that gives it so much structure and integrity that it's extremely easy to hook with. So you can see when you get a piece, you just chop it up as best you can. You can use the ribbing. There's no problem with using the ribbing. The ribbing works great too. This is a piece that's much more stretchy and heathery. Don't mind buttons, he's losing his mind. Very stretchy and heathery. This looks like another sleeve or no, maybe a body for a little person. But it has a lot more stretch and it doesn't make any difference. Will your strips unravel as you hook them? No, they won't. I'm going to show you how I cut them and I'm going to hook a little with them, and they do not unravel. A sweater, if you're a knitter or a crocheter, a knitter, you know that a sweater wants to unravel from the last point that you're working. So I'm working it here and I put my thing down, it comes off and up it goes. It wants to unravel from that point. It doesn't want to just randomly unravel at raw edges. It doesn't want to do that. So no, it won't unravel. Even cables like this are gonna work great. Texture's gonna work great. This is like cashmere. And this works great. I've already got this in my piece. But you can see, I'm gonna put these fun guys away for now, but you can see anything works. You get it, you cut it piece by piece. You know, it's never good to cut your worms, whether it's wool or sweater material or whatever. Cut them as you go as much as you can. Check this out. So this is going to do a nice effect, a nice Fair Isle cap, sleeve cap. This one too, look at, this is a little Fair Isle with color. That's going to give it a little punch, just like it would with like a mottled wool for hooking, regular wool. These patterned ones are going to look great. You know, everything they say about small dogs is true, isn't it? He's the sweetest little thing, but man, he cannot shut his hole. All right, so let me show you how this works. Wool away. And of course, it's in the thrift stores now. This is fall 2020. All this stuff is in the thrift stores. So what I'm doing, this is my piece here. I just drew this quickly. I always wanted to do like something with a mummy with a pumpkin head, and I thought now's my chance. This is all hooked with sweaters. Right? In the last couple of days, I haven't spent a lot of time on it because you know what? It hooks so fast. I'm going to show you. It hooks super fast. It's super mushy and cushy and full and dense. You can easily put this down on the floor. It's not even itchy and crazy. I'm not a big wool sweater person, but it feels great. Super squishy, and the way that it hooks is gorgeous. It is very forgiving. So I just take a piece and I take, you know, some of my sweater wool that's been washed and is totally dry, obviously, and I'm just running it through my cutter. I'm not even being particularly careful that I'm on any grain because you're not going to get that with a lot of sweaters. You're going to get a lot of diagonals. This is a sleeve after all. So I'm cutting my pieces like that. Couldn't be any easier, right? It's just going right through. and making beautiful strips. And you can see these strips are not wanting to unravel. That's not what's going to happen next. They're stretchy this way. Now, the thing about it is, with the sweaters, they are a little bit more fragile. And when you are hooking, you don't want to be pulling these out, right? Like with wool, you can pull it out, gets a few shreds on the side, gives you a little bit of feedback. It doesn't like to be pulled out, but you move on and you hook with the same piece again. With the sweaters, when you pull it out because you don't like your color or whatever, I pulled out the orange for my pumpkin. It was too coral for me. And it didn't like that. It turned shreddy because it took a beating coming out of the monk's cloth that I've got. For backing, you could use linen, monk's cloth, burlap, rug backing, poly rug backing, anything. Scottish burlap, anything is going to work. Any of the things I mentioned is going to work. Cotton is not going to work, nothing like that. We're still using a traditional rug backing, but any of those things are going to work fine. I'm using monk's cloth because I love monk's cloth. So you can see how much I've gotten done already. I'm going to do a little bit of hooking with it now. So I'm going to take out one of my darkies, right? You can see it's not going to unravel. You can see it wants to stretch, but it's not going to unravel. And I'm just coming back here to where I left off with my branch. I'm doing the same kind of hooking that I would with my wool strips, because essentially they are wool strips. And they come up really full, they come up quite even as you want them to be. I don't plan on blocking this, meaning steaming it at the end, because I like the unevenness of the look. But you can see it hooks fluffy and it hooks fast. There's no issue with it, and you're gonna end it the same way you would end, I'll do a little bit more, your wool strips. And then I can come over here. You're hooking it exactly the same way, but the difference is when you're hooking with recycled sweaters or repurposed sweaters, you are you're getting such a full, fat, squishy piece that every time you pop it up, it immediately fills in the space around it. You get that to some extent with wool strips, but wool strips are much more structured and thinner than this because of the nature of this being a knit. It really is plump, and that is an understatement. You see how it sits real well next to the loop next to it? And you know, I'm not one for counting my loops. There goes the neighbor with the lawnmower. I'm not one for counting my loops, so I just go, as long as it looks right, I dip in there and I make a loop. Goes super, super, super fast. I'm almost at the end of this noodle, and this was a long noodle. This went from like the armpit all the way down. And I leave my tails up too, just because it's too easy to pull them away if I put them behind. That one is a little bit behind. So you see how well that goes. And then one of the other wonderful things about hooking with sweater material is you can really squish in to where you've been, even more than with traditional wool. You can squish right in and find your spot. Now, I don't know if I'm hooking the front or the back of this one. The pea green one is a bit more textured than that purpley eggplant, but it doesn't make any difference. I'm getting a little bit of texture and I like it. So I'm not worried about my loops twisting. I'm not worried about that because they are coming up looking like a knit sweater loop. I'm not worried about perfection. It's not that kind of a medium when you are hooking with recycled sweaters. So you see how easy it is to squeeze them in and tuck them in places. It's even easier than with anything else. So before I forget, can you hook with, can you do this technique? Can you do hooking with recycled sweaters with punch needle? I haven't tried it, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no. And my reason for saying I don't think so is because, that sounded sarcastic, I didn't mean it like I don't think so, but the reason I'm saying no is because the properties of the sweater, right? It's super, super, super stretchy and super textured. And even there are the two kinds of Oxford punch needles you can get, the regular and the fine. No sweater is going to go through the fine. A hair goes through the fine. Even if you have the regular and it's not fine, no matter how thin you cut your noodle, it's going to snag. It's going to snag and get caught going through the punch needle. The punch needle, what's going through it needs to be fairly smooth. This isn't smooth. So my guess would be it would snag horribly. If I'm wrong, just let me know. I would love to know because I punch too. But my guess is just judging from hooking with it is that it would snag horribly and there's no way around that. So I would give that, without having tried, I would give that a definite no. What was I going to say? The thing with that punch needle is, with the regular punch needle, yes, you can hook things that are super thin, but because of the properties of a sweater already being knit and thick, you cannot cut a strip narrow enough with a sweater. Like, let's look at one that got cut on the edge of my cutter. Look at how thin that is. It's ready to break, right? That might be thin enough to go through a punch needle and not get caught, but it's going to be a fair nightmare, and sooner or later it wants to break. It's not that strong because it's too thin. So to go through a punch needle, I think you would need it way too thin. These noodles are cut to 6s. You like how I use an old ashtray for a noodle stand? It's really great for beside the couch to just put your stuff here like that. Just get rid of the ashtray part and you've got an excellent stand. But these I cut to a 6 just because 6 was the quick one to find on my Bliss cutter. I would have cut them to an 8, but I couldn't find the head and I didn't have the patience. So I cut them to a 6, and the 6 is working great. I wouldn't cut them much smaller than a 6. I would say a 5 would be the smallest, not because I'm afraid they're going to unravel, because I'm afraid they're going to become shreddy and rip, which they sometimes do anyway, but you just keep going. Trim, crop, shear as you go your surface so you really know what you're getting. But this is a really fun fall, winter medium. This is something different. You know how much wool costs. We all know how much rug hooking wool costs. If you can get a hold of some old sweaters, look on Facebook Marketplace, look on eBay, mostly look in your thrift stores so you can avoid shipping. Cut them up, wash them, dry them, shrink them a little bit so that they become fold, and then cut them up with your cutter or with a pair of scissors, and just try this. It really is so fun and so forgiving. You know, you could try hooking something very fine and traditional. I went for something primitive because I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But you can see it's really coming along really well. I can't describe without, I wish you could reach through and touch this. It is so squishy and soft. It's very luxury feeling. And it's a bunch of old sweaters, you know, that had holes in them and were chopped up. Run to the craft store, run to the thrift store right now and see what you can get. If you don't have a cutter, just cut them with your scissors about this thick, right? Something like this, like a shoelace. Cut them like a shoelace. It's going to take a lot of time, but it's going to be worth it, and you will have the bargain of the century if you find a bunch of beautiful rugs. I'm going to put out a few kits. So far, viewers on Coffee Time said, let's do a butterfly kit, let's do a traditional flower basket kit. If you have another idea for a design, I'm going to put together some kits with my garbage bags of sweater, and I'm going to do some really good deals as long as supplies last, because I got these garbage bags for free and I really want to share them with everybody who wants to try this. And at home, if you supplement them, like I don't have any pink, I haven't got any blue, if you supplement them with your old sweaters that have had it, the palette grows and grows and the sky's the limit. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email. In the meantime, good luck hooking with recycled sweaters. Chop, stop, chop, shop style. That's a tongue twister. See you soon from Ribbon Candy Hooking.